When you zoom out and you get perspective, once again, we were right. And we are now pumping. We're up past this. This is at 99K. We're now up to $104,000 a Bitcoin, which is exciting because that means and confirms that the bull market is back on. That is what the best traders, the best Bitcoin economists, and the massive influencers are all saying. So in this video, I'm going to lay out a strategic game plan to turn $1,000 into $100,000 on this super cycle. Because this cycle, as you're going to see, is most likely way bigger than anything that you have seen before. Now, at the top of this is a little bit of a hyperbolic title to try and get you in and get people's attention, because there's a lot of people out there with $1,000 to invest. However, ideally, it's way easier, exponential. It's probably 1,000 times easier to turn $10,000 into $100,000. But I will be giving you exactly how I personally would play it if I only had $1,000 to invest into crypto. Maybe you've got your millions safely in the S&P 500 or somewhere else, and the $1,000 is the play money. Now, let's have a look at the context, the zoom out, and then I'm going to give you the 5 tokens and then a little bit of exactly how I'm personally playing it based on everything that I'm seeing at this point in time. Let's start with the context. Michael on BTC says, we are now in the suddenly stage, which is basically, I don't know the exact quote, I'll butcher it, but it's something like nothing happens for years and then suddenly it all happens at once overnight, something like that. And you can see that the M2 money supply, which we've been tracking, Peter from House of Crypto has been tracking, Raul Pell has been tracking, saying that we're entering the banana zone as printing goes worldwide. And the US haven't really even turned on their quantitative easing yet. So there's a lot of upside still to come here. But you can see if we follow the trend line, which we have been at like a 90% accuracy over the last 18 months, we are going to absolutely skyrocket. Bitcoin's projected to almost 2x, and you can see it bounced basically at the exact same time, 76K. If you don't know about the M2 money supply, I have a full video on it where you can understand exactly what this is, but basically it's the amount of money being printed. Bitcoin is a sponge and it's going to soak up all that value. And so if it continues the pattern, you can see it's heading to 190K plus. Now, people are predicting 190K. Some people are predicting 444K. There's a few people who have their eyes set on this number who seem to know what they're talking about. At least the one guy, Josh, someone I believe his name was, also got a video on that, who called the exact price point of Bitcoin about 6 months out. Absolutely phenomenal. But then you even have people like CZ, who is the Binance founder. I think he's on the board of Binance now. He's no longer the CEO, calling for Bitcoin at 800K to $1 million. However, what is going to pump harder than Bitcoin? Because Bitcoin is the biggest market cap. So even if you get a $444,000 Bitcoin, you're only getting a 4.4x on your money. If you got $1,000, you're not making $100,000. However, have a look at this. Today, $235 billion was added to the cryptocurrency market, which is very impressive. You just want a little slice of that pie. I just want a little slice of that pie. Just give me one of those, Bill, and we'll all be happy. 5.82% on Bitcoin. But then you have a look at something like Ethereum, almost 22% up. Solana, 11% up. Doge, 14% up. It's a lot more than that now, actually. I think it's in the 20%. You've got Lido down here in 21%, Cardano at 14%, and a lot of these other tokens with smaller market caps, they follow Bitcoin's lead. Bitcoin is the safety. It's the music that everyone dances to, but they pump way harder. This is the crypto whip. The smaller the market caps, the more volatile. They're the ones that go down 95% when Bitcoin's going down, but they go up that 100x that can actually turn your grand into 100 grand when Bitcoin goes up. Now, they're not all going to do it, and you have to be very selective at which ones you want to choose. I'm going to show you exactly how I've been choosing and what's performed well historically in this video, so keep watching. But you got to know what market cap are the tokens that you're investing in, because if you're looking for the 100x gains, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, Doge, they're not going to do it for you because that's just an absurd amount of money that needs to enter the market. And Ilio Trades just says that this is the most insane pump that he's witnessed in his 20 years in crypto, obviously being hyperbolic here because there hasn't been 20 years in crypto. Alex Becker, they're just high on bull market vibes at the moment. Exactly, I predict all cord to plan. Why I actually want to show you this thread is, one, because those influencers are back there about to start flexing on us with all their crazy 8-figure gains. But also have a look at whys. He shows you how Bitcoin pumps 6%, Ethereum pumps 22%, almost a 3.5 to 4x leverage on Bitcoin. Vidamo says the last 20% daily candle on ETH which we've got today, was 1,700 days ago when it was $280. And then you can see even in the meme world, tokens like SPX 6900 are up 23% when Bitcoin was only just crossing the 100K, up 4%. So you can see this is why we play in the altcoin market, because they're higher leverage. Again, higher leverage means more downside if Bitcoin and market sentiment turns around. But our insurance policy and our asymmetric bet is the M2 money supply, along with a lot of other things we don't have to go into in this video. But then the question is, okay, I believe Bitcoin's going up. I believe altcoins will go up even further with bigger multiples and therefore make us a lot more money. However, which altcoins are going to go up? Because they won't all go up. Some of them are going to be rug pulls, scams. Some of them might go up less than even Bitcoin goes up with way less certainty. And then you're going to have the ones that come through and absolutely fly and do 100x while you're looking over from your really slow boat being like, I definitely should have got into that one. So I'm going to show you how I have personally found incredible 100x returns in crypto at about this point in the market cycle, which is where the market has come back, but mainstream isn't here yet. This is honestly the most exciting part of the market to be in. And we've got to stay zoomed out for this because there's 3 ways to trade crypto. There's only ever 3 ways, unless you're including like throwing a dart at a dartboard, which might be better than a lot of people's strategies. But the first way is technical analysis. These are for people who go out there and draw Fibonacci sequences and dinosaurs and all these things on charts, looking at resistance, looking at people shorting it, which it doesn't not work, but you just can't explain tariffs. You can't explain Elon Musk tweeting about a token. You're going to miss a lot of runners and you're going to be looking at charts looking for 1.5x's when literally influencers are pumping and dumping tokens and you can ride those up for a 20x overnight. Fundamental analysis is where you look at, oh, this protocol, Virtual's protocol, looks amazing. They've got this amount of tokens built on them. They've got this amount of users, this amount of total value locked. No one really cares about that. When you got meme coins like Doge, which has no fundamentals, hitting a $94 billion market cap and getting people tens of millions of dollars by investing in one dog token, you got to really take fundamental analysis off the table, unless there is a way that you incorporate it into your narrative trading, which we'll talk about in a second, where the influencers you follow or top traders that you follow like coins with strong fundamentals and therefore push them out. But either way, that is going to be covered in what I believe is the hands down 100 times better than anything else best way to trade, which is narrative trading. It's finding a trend, it's finding a token, it's finding an influencer who's about to promote a token before everybody else, and buying in when those influencers buy in, or buying in while the trend is young and yet to really skyrocket, and therefore being able to get in at the earliest point as you ride that social wave. Because everything in crypto is narrative trading. How does anyone find out about any token? Well, it's probably on Twitter from one of the top influencers that are pushing it. But you can't just narrative trade anyone. You're like, oh my God, my friend Steve is about to get into this token. Well, if Steve doesn't have a good track record or Steve doesn't know what he's talking about, that's not much of a narrative. You need to find the best and strongest narratives with the most influence out there in the crypto world. And for example, when you can do that, you can get crazy returns with what I call a social insurance policy, because you know you're early in the cycle or early in that narrative. Even if the fundamentals are bad, or even if it is a rug pull, as long as you're early, like people make a lot of money in Ponzi schemes if you're early enough to actually buy in and then take your money out before it all rugs. And so you can see even today, this was tweeted that Murad's picks, Must Stop Murad, one of the top influencers, he has, I don't know how much he has now, probably $20 to $30 million in meme coins, is the number 2 top performing category in the last 24 hours. You can see Murad's picks here, which are 10 meme coins, lots of videos on these if you guys don't know which ones they are. I'm going to talk about one of them in this video. Literally the second highest performer on the day as this market has been bouncing. And now, before I show you the 5 picks that have those social insurance policies and these influences behind it, as well as they are younger trends where the mainstream is not here picking up on yet, I want to show you one more thing that you need to take into account, because without this, nothing works. And that is, of course, market sentiment. You can see the market sentiment's in the blue here. We're on CoinGlass, and you can see the market sentiment was crazy low, literally all-time lows down here in the 20s. I think it reached something like a 15 or something, and you can see it's bounced back really strongly. And historically, you want to buy when market sentiment's low. If you look at any point where market sentiment was low, you would have had a nice upside if you're patient enough on the other side of that. And if you buy anytime market sentiment's high, it's always going to end up going down low. So now market sentiment is turning a bit, which it doesn't mean you don't want to buy, because you can hold market sentiment for a period of months, and we might just be early in it. This might go all the way to here, and Bitcoin might go all the way up to 444K. But I will say you might want to go down the crypto whip as market sentiment continues to stay up, as you trend from a Bitcoin season into an altcoin season. Because when you're copy trading influencers and when you're looking at these top picks, they're going to fly when extreme greed is at all-time highs. This is when you have people logging on and literally mortgaging their house and putting 200 grand into some terrible looking coin because someone on Twitter that they don't even know who recommended it. That's the point of the market where we literally can print 100K out of $1,000. And so let's get to the 5 tokens. Crypto God John. If you haven't heard of him, you should definitely go follow him. He might be the most consistent. He doesn't have the most power. He's called the most 100x's out of all the influencers that we track. However, he calls more tokens than anybody else, which means if you're looking for more opportunities, he's an excellent person to be tracking and to be looking at what he's buying. He says desync is about to start its next parabolic leg up. ETH is waking up, expecting ETH AI to wake up next, because this is today. You saw ETH wake up with a 24%. Ethereum AI, which is AI tokens on Ethereum, is going to be next trend in his opinion. Desync rips soon, and if you're looking for a spot exposure, I think Desync has really good upside potential as the leading ETH AI coin, which I do agree, because they don't only have John on board, they also have Alex Becker on board. And here is Drew, who is also part of Wealth Group, who I met at Token 2049. Great dude. And so they have the social influence behind them. They also do have a strong fundamentals, and you can see they're only just starting to bounce from all-time lows. This is the token that someone like Alex Becker thinks will get into the billions of dollars of market cap, and it's currently only at 156 million, which can get you a nice 8 to 15x return, which I personally think it will, and I'll show you exactly why in a more macro sense in just a second. But that's in the AI niche. In the meme coin niche, and I'm going to be honest with you, this token is now my biggest holding, which is pretty crazy. It took me a couple of months to get to this point, but I'm a really big fan of it. And so I'm also personally biased, but I don't need you to buy. I think this token's going to do well with or without your $1,000. But Murad has convinced me that meme coins are really going to be massive. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in a second, but it's basically mainstream and normies aren't here yet. They're going to be here when the price is absolutely through the roof. And to put my thesis in a nutshell, it's basically everything Murad says. I mean, here's an hour-and-a-half long video on 150 reasons why the SPX 6900 will reach $1 trillion market cap, which would be absolutely insane. I watched this entire video, and I believe with most of the stuff being said in there, to put it as simply as possible, and why it is my biggest bag right now, is one, it's got an insanely strong community, literally 100,000 diehard fans who are all going to be out there marketing on my behalf, because I own SPX 6900, and they're all going to be shilling it on Twitter. As market sentiment continues to increase, as the normies start to come in, they're going to be having a lot of FOMO. And I don't think they care as much about technicals, about fundamental, as they do as funny. Once people say, oh, I made $1 million on this token, and then they're recommending their friends, I think it's a very easy token for them to pick up. And so you can see the SPX 6900, of which I've been buying in all the way down here. I think I almost timed that bottom perfectly, which was pretty nice. You can see it's bounced back to a 643 million fully diluted value right now. And I think will be one of the top leading memes in this super cycle. The next one is AI agents. And this also sort of lends its hand to meme coins too, because meme coins have always been static. But with the crossover of AI and meme coins, you can have an AI powered meme coin, which is now a dynamic meme coin. And Virtual's protocol is basically the infrastructure that allows people to build their own tokens and AI agents in whatever fashion they want. You can see it's had a really strong bounce, and Peter from House of Crypto called this one. He did really well. A nice 4x already. It's already up to a $1.34 billion market cap, but you can see at its all-time high, it did cross up to that $4.5 billion market cap. And if John's right, and if the AI agent continues to take off, this is the market leader. But I personally don't love betting on the $1 billion tokens. That's not going to get the $1,000 to $100,000. So what about a smaller token that has historically done extremely well, backed by Alex Becker and a few other top influencers, that social insurance policy that we're looking at? Well, Salim on Twitter says, what about RWA tokens like Pinlink? Alex Becker says Pinlink is both AI and RWA and will fly. This is just 17 hours ago. And if we zoom out over here, you can see it hasn't even really bounced yet. I think it's had a little bit of a kick if we go to the one-day graph here. So it did actually kick today up 22%, but it really hasn't returned to anywhere near its all-time high of $3.40. That's a 270 mil market cap, currently sitting at a 76 fully diluted market cap. And this is one that there are quite a few influences behind. And if RWA is the narrative and the meta, I think will do extremely well. The last token I want to talk about is interesting because it's in a narrative that was so big in the last cycle, but has been really quiet this cycle, and that is gaming. And there could be massive catalysts dropping this year that could really skyrocket gaming. Abbas says GTA 6 is integrating digital currency. Now we know they're integrating digital currency. People are saying that it's going to be Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana. However, it's not confirmed by Rockstar Games yet. But if something like that does drop and you have the biggest game probably of all time dropping, you're going to see gaming tokens do extremely well. Now, a gaming token that is hidden in here in a lot of Alex Becker's recommendations is also known as a smaller AI coin because they are on the intersection of AI and gaming. Just like pin links in the center of the Venn diagram of RWA and AI, and virtuals is in the center of the Venn diagram of AI and memes, Neural is sitting on that fence. Uncomfortably probably sitting on that fence. But if we zoom out, you can see it's had a very nice day, up 34% here. You can see in perspective though, that is just a small jump. It was at a 160 mil market cap, now only at a $40 million market cap. And I think if someone like Alex Becker continues to back it, it could return to all-time highs and way beyond, especially with a strong gaming wave. But the thing with those 5 tokens is that they all have had $100 million plus market caps. And what I personally find, and what I think is going to perform the best for me, I hold about 12 to 15 different tokens, even that aren't in this video, and I think they're going to do really well. I think they're going to, most of them, otherwise I wouldn't have them, I'd sell them, are going to return to their all-time highs. But I think where I'm going to make most money in this super cycle is in the 100x zone. Where is this? This one right here. This is Altura, if I zoom in here. In the gaming cycle, which was really led by AXS, which is Axie Infinity, that's sort of the type of token that I've shown you today. The blue chips in a niche. Crypto gaming ran so hard at the end of 2021, and a lot of people made a lot of money. However, they were late runners. Some real late runners, such as Altura. And what happens is the niche performs extremely well. A lot of mainstream, a lot of normies come in, they bring billions of dollars, and they're all waiting for that next hot token. And then this was literally Alex Becker's recommendation down here. As soon as he recommended it, absolutely skyrocketed up 1,000% gains from its low down here, which is, you can see how instantaneous this was too. And I think those late runners are going to be absolutely printing us money if we can position ourselves well. Because what you have to understand is that when we zoom out to the macro, I've got the Google Trends data of both meme coins and Bitcoin, and you can see we are nowhere near mainstream adoption. Denise Hoddle said 74,000 to 100,000 for Bitcoin in 4 weeks. Every bear, macro doomer, and shitcoiner has been sidelined. There is no retail anywhere. The retail is not here at all. It's not even close to being here. And Bitcoin treasuries popping up left and right. Institutional demand finally real. Rates still at 4.5%. No quantitative easing and trade wars still ongoing. The US haven't even announced their first Bitcoin buy. And we're getting massive price action. And Joe Burnett, who's actually a really good follow here on Twitter, says, I'm not sure you understand. Price itself is what convinces the masses, which it shouldn't be. This is probably the most annoying part of making YouTube videos, is that everyone is so hyper bearish at the bottom and hyper bullish at the top, and you literally have to contra trade the masses. But they are coming because once Bitcoin hits $150,000, people are going to be like, wait, I forgot about crypto. How did they get to $150,000? They're going to come in. They're going to look for those late runners, those 100x gains, and they're going to be throwing so much dumb money in, which is where we get the hell out of here. Now, we are not at that point yet, but you can still see we still are getting 100x's even in this environment. This was one that Elon Musk actually changed his Twitter handle to, which went from obviously under $1 million to almost $100 million, almost 100x over 2 days, if you know how to narrative trade properly. And right now, I believe this is prime time. Once again, when you're at the top and things are flying, that's when you only have down to go. Right now, this is a massive asymmetric bet, and a lot of the top influencers we follow know this as well. Andrew Tate says contract address soon. I don't know what this guy is launching. He's launched a few in the past that have done extremely well. up to 350 mil market cap in the right sentiment, and then he's burned out his audience and only got up to like a $30 million market cap. But either way, there is massive opportunity from following someone like Andrew Tate, who has just such a massive 10.7 million X followers and a lot of pull in the crypto world. Peter Anthony says, money he lost from getting hacked was recovered in a 24-hour period with a 6x long on Sui. He is cooking right now. And Crypto God John says he's now looking for his next 100x return. And rumor is that he's come across something big. And this is what I'm saying, guys. The ones that John is currently looking for, the tokens that are currently trying to partner with Becca, and the tokens that Andrew Tate hasn't launched yet, they are our generational shot at these late runner 100x gains. But you have to be first, because even with something like, let's go back to virtuals, you can see this thing ran from zero, the whole token started at zero, but let's just take a reasonable point right here, 50 mil market cap to almost a $5 billion, a $4.53 billion market cap. And if you could buy in here and sell anywhere in this top zone, you're going to turn your 1 grand into 100 grand. However, if you were late to the AI agent meta, but you heard about it and you're like, oh, that is a smart idea. AI agents, which is like sentient tokens, sentient memes, brilliant. Let's buy in. But you heard about it here, you're going to lose all your money. So it's not just you need the right narrative, but you need to be early to the right narrative. And I call this the 100x zone. And this is why we track people in the 100x zone. We track their wallets. We track new projects that partner with influencers. So we can see when their partnership wallet deploys capital to known influencers. So we know that they're going to promote them ahead of time. So we can take people like us who are out of the loop, although I'm starting to get in the loop and I'm going to be passing that information along on what the next runners are going to be. But we want to move up the narrative food chain. So we are hearing these narratives like this is the next Dogecoin when it comes to something like SPX 1600 while it is still a baby. So we literally have blockchain detectives and software tracking all this for you. So at the very least, you need to make sure you are subscribed to this channel because we are going to be going hard in this super cycle trying to print. But if you want even more, you can join our inner circle, and we have been building in this bear market. We've been building some ridiculous new tools, which we're going to be unveiling next week. But at this point in the last market was when I was telling everybody to get in. And what happened is we hit OGPU, which was like a 2 or 3x when John bought, Pinlink, which was a 12x in 2 weeks, a 13x on Cheyenne, and about 5 to 6 more things like Reploy, which did about a 6 or 7x from the time that we called it inside of our inner circle. This is the time to get in. Most people are going to be joining us in our inner circle when it's too late. And so if you are here and you rode out that vicious pullback, which in hindsight is only small when you just look at the Bitcoin pullback, but I understand if you are in altcoins that did pull back, a lot of them pull back 90%, and if you're overexposed, that can be a really hard time. But what I'm saying is if you want access before here on YouTube, because YouTube is way too slow for you to get the notification. You may still make money because in the macro, people aren't here yet, but you can also make money in the micro, in the day-to-day, just by being early. And that's exactly why our Rubicon whale tracker exists. And it's brand new with all those new tools. So if you're interested and you want to get ahead of the new cycle before it's too late, the link is in the description below. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.